From Simon & Schuster Audio, What Liberal Media? The Truth About Bias and the News. By Eric Alterman. Read by the author.
What Liberal Media by Eric Alterman. That's me. Bias, slander, and BS. Only a liberal would be dumb enough to title a book, What Liberal Media? Listen to just about anyone and the answer's obvious. What are you, stupid? Just pick up a newspaper or turn on your TV. America's argument about media bias features just 2 points of view. The right argues that the media is biased toward leftists. The other side responds, to quote David Broder, Dean of the Washington Press Corps, there just isn't enough ideology in the average reporter to fill a thimble. The idea that the media might, for reasons of ownership, class, economics, or outside pressure, actually be more sympathetic to conservative causes than to liberal ones is widely considered to be simply beyond the pale. Social scientists talk about useful myths, stories we all know that aren't necessarily true, but that we choose to believe them anyway because they seem to offer confirmation of what we already know, which raises the question, if we already know it, why the story? Think of the wholly fictitious but illustrative story about little George Washington and his inability to lie about that cherry tree. For conservatives, and even more for many journalists, the liberal media is just that. A myth, to be certain, but a useful one. If only it were true, we might have a more humane, open-minded, and ultimately effective public debate on the issues facing the nation. Alas, if pigs could fly. Republicans of all stripes have done quite well for themselves during the last 5 decades, fulminating about the liberal cabal, progressive thought police who spin, supplant, and sometimes suppress the news we all consume. Indeed, it's not only conservatives who find this whipping boy to be an irresistible target. Dwight David Eisenhower received one of the biggest ovations of his life when, at the 1952 Republican Convention, he derided what he called the sensation-seeking columnists and commentators who sought to undermine the Republican Party's efforts to improve the nation. The most colorful example of this art form, however, is probably a toss-up between the 2 quips penned by then White House speechwriter William Safire for Vice President Spiro Agnew, who denounced both the, quote, nattering nabobs of negativism and the effete corpse of impudent snobs seeking to undermine the nation's morale. His boss, Richard Nixon, who had been Ike's vice president, usually held his
Sample complete. Ready to continue?